Well, the hiatus is over. I had to tap back in because there's more goofy stuff going on, and we got to talk about it. You know, the most alarming thing for me concerning this whole Penn State drug bust with the fraternities and whatnot, it's people's obsession with drugs. There's an obsession, an overzealous one for drug culture. Now, make no mistake, people in frats and whatever have been, drinking and you going on drug binges for decades. This ain't anything new. This isn't anything earth-shattering. It goes hand in hand with the frat parties, whether it's weed, whether it's pills, these things have been going on forever. But it's the obsession. It's the obsession with being a user. Growing up, I was always into athletics, and I had a healthy fear of my parents and, let's say, the law. So there were just certain things I didn't do because I didn't want to do it, and I didn't want to face the repercussions of parents or law enforcement. Peer pressure never really, factored in for me. I was never pressured to do anything I didn't want to do. And if there was ever a situation where I knew how to say no. But we need Ronald Reagan's whole drug just say no campaign to come back.
Say yes to your life. And when it comes to drugs and alcohol, just say no.
I know the politics involved with that whole thing from 40 years ago, as they were telling Americans to just say no. Drugs were being infiltrated in this country in a nanosecond. Just, you can do your research. So as much as we were protesting and campaigning and this is your brain and this is your brain on drugs and all those commercials, we were flooding our cities and urban sections with all type of drug paraphernalia, hence the whole crack era. But fast forwarding some 40 plus years later, there's still this obsession with drugs, and it's in the music, it's in just everything. It's just everything. And I don't get it. And like I said, most of us coming up have partaked in something, whether it's drinking or maybe you took a little, you inhaled a little marijuana.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
Or whatever you may have done. And not everybody. Some people have lived, drug-free lives. But at the same token, I don't get it. Is it to feel cool? Is it to get girls? Is it so you can fit in? I don't understand. And Penn State has been in the news for the wrong reasons for the past 20 years. Starting with the whole Joe Paterno, and I believe his last name was Sadusky. I could be getting it wrong. That was just like the icing on the cake. So we thought. But it should be very interesting to see how this whole thing turns out, because there's a lot of drug trafficking laws that were violated. These dudes should be getting football numbers. Seriously, they should be locked up to the end of time. But sometimes in these types of cases, the law gets a little funny, and these guys might get slapped on the wrist, and then wash, rinse, repeat. We're gonna have another big university in a major scandal. And I'm sure it's going on throughout various universities. Penn State's not the only one. But, we've seen things like Animal House, and I know I'm dating myself, but we've seen things like Animal House and all these little frat parties, and things go on. Things go on. When I went to college, I didn't care for any fraternity things. I just wasn't interested. I'm not seeking validation from strangers. I'm not trying to fit in. We do know frat sororities, for the most part, you have a lifeline of connections, or a lifetime of connections. So, you can get out of situations if you're a frat brother of this group or a sorority sister of that group. You might get some job connections. So we know there's some benefits, but I was never interested in trying to you win someone over, and getting hazed and doing this and doing that just wasn't that serious to me. And I just wish more people had that attitude, like, join a frat for what? Join a gang for what? You know, I'm a one-man army, you know, and it's just whatever. But anyway, point being, things are looking very interesting for this whole Penn State situation. It just never ends. But there's an obsession with drugs in this country. And again, it's not just America. We know we can go anywhere in the world and people are addicts. But it just seems like we celebrate stuff like that here. It's celebrated. I don't know if these guys are really going to get, you know, the hard time they should get. Think about what you're reading in the news or watching, you know, with these guys distributing kilos, tens of thousands of dollars worth of cocaine, you know, and parents covering things up. And come on, man, come on, you know, give these guys numbers. There's a lot of people who were wrongfully accused in the court system that are getting 20, 30, 40 lifetime sentences. Do the same here.